Yeah. I'm curious because I know I know I'm a bit higher on Mike Evans than you are. So curious your thoughts. Why you feel like he doesn't deserve to kind of be in that C tier with the other guys that we talked about previously.
Yeah, you're gonna make me sound like a jerk now, man. The guy who's coming off
Putting you on the
12
spot.
consecutive or whatever it
A
is, however many
1,000 yard
consecutive
season.
1,000 yard seasons, breaking the record. I mean, just an absolute Hall of Fame talent. It's not that he doesn't deserve to be here. He definitely does, based on the past. I think my concern is just is that going to be indicative of the future, right? Because he is 32 years old. He's going to be going to his age 32 season next year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought in Emeka Egbuka on top of Chris Godwin returning, and they did just extend Chris Godwin to a 3-year, $66 million contract.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of speaks to the fact that they believe he's going to be healthy next year, or I don't really see them giving him that contract. So he's another guy. Jalen McMillan is a dude who flashed quite a bit as a rookie. So there's a little bit of uncertainty. Liam Cohen's leaving, so it's just enough for me to kind of have a little bit of pause. But if he stays healthy, it's really hard to see him not returning value on this ADP, right?
Yeah, I mean, at kind of the fourth tier, 100%. I think there's so much value, and I would have put him, maybe tail end of that C tier, maybe higher up on the D tier than right here. But he's a guy that, just like you're saying, I mean, he 10 straight 1,000 yard seasons. I mean, that's ridiculous. This past season he was a little bit more reliant on the touchdowns to get him to that wide receiver nine than I think we would hope, especially with only just 1,000 yards receiving. But I mean, if the Bucks are going to do well, like I think Mike Evans still has to be that red zone threat. I think he's a guy that there's no world in my mind unless he gets injured, but there's no world in my mind where they won't try to push him for that 11th thousand
Yeah,
yard season, right?
that's a
So you
good
have
point. Yeah.
the fact that he's going to try and get that 1,000 yards, and the fact that he is still an elite red zone threat. I don't see why he couldn't easily be a top 15 wide receiver next season, even with Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan, because I think their wide receiver core is super talented, but
Yeah.
somebody's gonna get injured. Chris Godwin hasn't been healthy in a while. You just never know with injuries, and the fact that there's four pretty talented wide receivers in that room, I think just allows Baker Mayfield some freedom to kind of just chuck the ball around the field, and like he's been doing this past couple seasons.